Hee hee. Guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to do an album review. Trying to, do a review on a very important album of the world, in the history of music, and also in my life before I battle the ultimate exams. And this album would be Michael Jackson's Thriller. So, Michael Jackson, king of pop, singer, songwriter, dancer, extremely famous, one of the biggest, not only, musical stars, but actually stars of all times, celebrities, one of the most popular. And Michael Jackson's Thriller just so happens to be the best selling album of all times, not only in the 80s, but all times in history. So, I kind of have to do this album review. And I think it's safe to say that Michael Jackson is probably the first musical artist that I actually cared about in my entire life. I think I was about 5 or 6 when I was just super into Michael Jackson's music, and I wasn't a music expert back then, and I know so little about music. It's nothing compared to the music that I know today. But back then, there's only one artist whose name I really remember and whose music I really liked, and I would actively go to YouTube and other search engines to look for his songs, and that is Michael Jackson. I really enjoyed his music, and after Michael Jackson, my musical taste have changed quite drastically. From Michael Jackson, I went to ABBA. From, yes, I know, weird, right? ABBA, and then to mainstream pop music. And after the mainstream pop musical phase, I started listening to Eminem. And then after Eminem, I started to listen to Coldplay. And then after Coldplay, I started to listen to classical rock music. And then I arrived at Radiohead. And then after that, I started to explore all sorts of musical genres, which leads to where I am right now. But recently, I have listened to Michael Jackson's Thriller and his other songs as well, and I realized after all these years, his music still sounds so damn great. I still remember when I was a young kid, around the age of 5 or 6 or 7, me and a very old friend of mine would just put on Michael Jackson music and dance to it, and our parents would just watch us dance to it, and it would be really fun. In fact, I think at around 7, me and my cousins joined a dancing class. I mean, come on, admit it. Everybody in the world had joined some sort of dancing class when they were a kid. I'm not good at dancing, but it was basically our parents' idea to put us in a dancing class where we danced to Michael Jackson songs, and that was a lot of fun as well. Fast forward to today. I don't dance. I'm not a good dancer, and I'm not a good singer. My taste in music had changed drastically. Michael Jackson still sounds like one of the greatest musical artists of all times. Now, there are dozens and hundreds of documentaries out there talking about the history of Michael Jackson, and every person, every human being involved in Michael Jackson's life. So I'm not gonna talk in detail about, Michael Jackson's life and passing. But basically, Michael Jackson is born in the Jackson family with an abusive father, I think. And very soon, when the Jacksons were kids, they already formed the Jackson 5, where they would perform catchy pop soul songs. And back then, while Michael Jackson isn't the most famous celebrity in the world, I mean, Jackson 5 was already pretty popular and had made a pretty good reputation themselves. And of course, after the Jackson 5 sort of fell in popularity, and it's not that they broke off, I mean, they would continue to make a few records down the road, but very soon Michael Jackson started his solo work, and to be honest, Michael Jackson's earlier solo material aren't really all that great, sometimes bland, sometimes derivative of other artists, and sometimes just alright. And it wasn't until Off the Walls when he started to work with way more talented people, bigger names, in order to put his music out there. And not so soon after, he started working with Quincy Jones, who is one of the most important person in his musical career, who later on helped bringing together people, guest songwriters, producers, who would go on to, I guess, make Michael's music shine way more. And also, we have, of course, Off the Walls, Thriller, Bad, Dangerous. But beside of all that music, Michael Jackson also has a fair share of controversies himself. Of course, he had undergone surgery to make himself look whiter, and I guess to fix his nose, which is not a good decision by any means. But it just goes to show that Michael Jackson is just as odd and troubled as he is talented. And of course, there are so many more controversies, like the baby in the balcony controversy, the fact that he likes children so much, he likes to sleep with children, not sleep with, but sleep with. And there are so much more, so I'm not gonna deal too much into that. But I guess another thing that makes Michael Jackson one of the most iconic artists of all times is just how he acts, how he looks, his iconic hat, the suit, his really famous ad-libs, the hee-hees, the woos, and also his amazing dance moves. He is born to be a great dancer. He has just smooth moves. The moonwalk is just mind-blowing. And of course, going back, we have other albums that he came out with off the wall, starting off with the track Don't Stop Till Get Enough, which is a very awesome, catchy, uplifting disco funk track that is irresistible. And on the album Bad, which I think is far from a perfect album, there are still a lot of great tracks. The opener, Bad, is absolutely fantastic and catchy. My favorite Michael Jackson song of all times, my personal favorite, is Smooth Criminal. The groove of that thing is just infectious. Shout out to Sugarfoot. Apparently Sugarfoot is the drummer for Michael Jackson, and he's like a human metronome. And of course we have Dangerous. I think the track Jam would be a total hit if the production is a little better, and the title track Dangerous I think is fantastic as well. And also, besides of the music itself on Thriller, there are also many other things around the album that makes this album so iconic and famous and best-selling, including the very amazing high caliber music videos that is so much better than a lot of the music videos nowadays. And of course, with the help of MTV, which is a huge thing in the 80s, and also various amazing, spectacular live performances, Michael Jackson had rose to fame. So yeah, now we'll talk about the music on the album. We have the opener, Wanna Be Startin' Something, You Got to Be Startin' Something, and it is another groovy disco banger. It sounds kind of simplistic, but it's really tight and groovy. I love the shuffling percussion, the slick bass, the somewhat eccentric falsetto vocals of Michael Jackson singing weird things like "You're a vegetable, you're a vegetable," and at the end we have "Mama say, Mama sa, Mama kusa," which is really odd, but definitely awesome. I like the doodly guitars, the icy synths, and this track is about, I guess, not being in a confrontation, pacifism. These song topics that Michael Jackson sort of embark upon are actually kind of weird now that I look more into it. The second track, Baby Be Mine, is totally friggin' underrated. Essentially, it is a more laid back, relaxing disco synth funk track. Of course, it is extremely catchy. The verses and the choruses are sensual, they are infectious as well. The synths during the hooks are so cool and adds so much personality to the track, and so do the horns. They are fantastic. And we also have the track The Girl Is Mine, featuring Paul McCartney of the Beatles fame, also one of the biggest and most popular bands of all times. And I guess, this is not the first time Michael Jackson had collaborated with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney also served as a guest writer on Off the Walls, alongside with the very amazing Stevie Wonder. And also, apparently, later on, Michael Jackson would also work with Mick Jagger in a Jackson 5 album, even though that album kind of sucked. Anyways, The Girl Is Mine is probably my least favorite track on the entire album. It's just an okay ballad-esque pop track with not much in terms of style, to be honest. And I think the instrumental tries a little too hard to be, laid back and lovely and sunny. And Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson didn't have too much in terms of chemistry as well. And also, given that later on Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson would have a beef because of copyright issues, the fact that apparently Michael Jackson bought all the Beatles songs uh, made this track not one of the better tracks here, but still the tune itself is not that bad, neither is it all that great. But the real star of this album is the next three tracks, the very famous Michael Jackson trio, Thriller, Beat It, and Billie Jean. Starting off, we have Thriller, which is not really that grand of a song. I mean, it's nearly a novelty song. It's basically a Halloween tune with some spooky spoken word in the beginning and in the ending, and also these very playful thriller horror inspired lyrics. But the song itself is fantastic. I love every single bit of it. The rhythm guitars, the very awesome, playful, tight guitar grooves on this thing. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. And of course, we get the chorus, the soaring chorus, the larger than life disco funk chorus. Thriller, thriller night. And the snare kicks, the performances, they're all really fantastic. I mean, the production is just high octane. The track Beat It is straight up a rock song with Van Halen doing a very impressive guitar solo on the track. But not only is Van Halen amazing on the track, but Michael Jackson himself is amazing as well. I mean, he just gives so much emotion and drama in his own vocals. It's actually kinda impressive. Also, the very echoey chorus, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. It's a very smartly written chorus, I guess I can say. And also, I guess this track, it sounds like it's about toxic masculinity, but actually, it's also about pacifism, backing down from a fight. Let's not fight, let's bring peace in this world, which is also a message that he constantly talks about in his music, like on the track Black or White, where he just tries to bring unity and peace among the people. And also, this reminds me that I forgot to talk about a couple of tracks off of off of Bad and Dangerous. Man in the Mirror is a lyrical masterpiece and a very beautiful, tear jerking song. Also, the track The Way You Make Me Feel is actually, I guess you can say, a remix of Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. And yeah, Beat It is also a fantastic song. After years, after years, I still love this song. And then we have Billie Jean, which I think is the best song out of the three and in the entire album. It's way more low key than the previous two tracks, but it's way more chill, sensual, entrancing. I really love the mesmerizing bass on this thing. Boom, 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 boom. The icy synths are iconic. Bam, 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 bam. And of course, we get the rhythm guitars that are doodly and fun. The production is crunchy. The beat is rather simple, but it's fantastic. And the performances are great as well. But what surprises me is the premise of the track, the narrative of the track, where essentially Michael Jackson sings about a heartbroken girl who tries to still somehow profit from the man by telling him that they have a son, even though in fact it's not. It's such a peculiar narrative, and it still works super well. And overall, it's a fantastic track. It's iconic. It deserves its high praise. Billie Jean, not my lover. And we also have the track Human Nature, which I think is also quite underrated. It's more low-key, more breezy. We get these serene descending synthesizers, and also these little pauses during the verses, which are way more dramatized during the live performances, where all the instrumentals would just stop in the middle of the verse for a few seconds, and then it continues, which is somewhat funny. I also like the breathy performances and the why. The track P.Y.T, or Pretty Young Thing, it's another disco synth funk track, except very lovely, very sweet, also very psychedelic as well. And I don't have much to say about this track other than it's within the ordinary for Michael Jackson, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, because within the ordinary of Michael Jackson is already a very great thing. And also, this track, it reminds me a lot of the psychedelic jazz rap of nowadays, and it just goes to show how influential Michael Jackson's music is, and this track as well. And the album ends off with The Lady in My Life, which is a heavenly, gorgeous pop soul track with some sincere performances and melodies. The opening is simple, it's low key, but the way it builds up to something really beautiful and gorgeous is quite fantastic. And overall, I love pretty much all the songs on this album. Of course, there are flaws on this album, or one flaw, and that is The Girl Is Mine. Not a great track, but not bad at all, actually. So yeah, it's safe to say that this is one of the most influential albums of all times, one of the greatest albums of all times, and one of the most important albums of all times. And a lot of the tracks here also, I guess, worked as a bit of a nostalgic factor for me. Yeah, other than that, my favorite track here is Billie Jean. My least favorite is The Girl Is Mine. This album is nearly perfect. Feeling a 10 on this thing. 10 out of 10. Hell yeah. So, have you listened to Michael Jackson's Thriller? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. Now, I don't know if I should do one more album review related video or not, because there are also albums that I would like to talk about. The latest Joyner Lucas, the latest 9 Inch Nails double album, the Horse Lords, and Sufjan Stevens, I guess. The Strokes, I think, will come out with an album at some point. Of course, we have Fiona Apple coming out with an album very soon.